I work in a full-time job as well as, going to school. I've got to be able to have time management, and there's going to be times when I'm tired. I've got to find a way to, get through the books and study what I need to study.
On today's Find the Balance Friday edition of the Odd Coaches podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis interview Kevin Hammock, former player of Coach Francis, as he discusses his high school and college basketball career, what he is doing today, as well as taking some good-natured jabs at Coach Francis. Welcome to today's show. Dr. Keith Adams is the president of the CKA Save Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. He is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college levels. He has won numerous championships and epitomizes professionalism. Coach Mike Franchise Francis is one of the most successful football and basketball coaches in the state of Maryland. He too is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college level and is self-admittedly a little rough around the edges. Both men have mentored countless student athletes, teachers, and coaches using their unique methods and approaches to leadership. Both men also share a unique and special friendship that was cultivated often through their unique perspective of life and leadership. Dr. Adams through his extensive educational background and Coach Francis through his life experiences. Can these two men share a podcast without driving each other crazy? Welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is the Bobby Fish to my Kyle O'Reilly in Wrestle Kingdom 9, not NXT and not AEW, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, how are you on this Find the Balance Friday, sir?
I am well. I'm well.
All right, so we're going to slightly deviate from our usual procedure because I'm going to tag in to Coach Francis for him to introduce our special guest. Coach, take it away.
All right. To our loyal listeners, today we have a special guest. It's the first, he was part of the first team that I took over at North County High School. He's also the first kid I ever coached that was a Division I full scholarship out of high school from out of our program. Highly touted all-met athlete. His name is Kevin Hammock.
Kevin, welcome. Welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Coach. I just want to say thank you, Coach, for everything you did for me back then. You know what it is.
Nah, nothing at all. It's everything you did for me.
All right. So, Kevin, I want you to talk a little bit about your high school background, your basketball background, provide a brief career overview. And as you will hear us say on the Odd Coaches podcast, don't forget to tell them about the degrees. It's all on you, sir.
Obviously, the coach said I played high school basketball at North County with Coach Francis. I was very blessed to be there with him during that time frame. Had some special players along there with us as well. So played varsity for 4 years. Went on from there and played Division I basketball at the Citadel. Was blessed to get a free education there with a business administration degree. From there, went on to play some professional ball in Canada in the Premier Basketball League for the Halifax Rainmen. Came back and coached with Coach Francis a little bit back at North County, and then ended up working my way back to the Citadel, coaching there, and getting my master's of teaching and physical education, and then just recently finished my second master's in educational leadership.
I love those degrees, Coach. I love those degrees. Coach, you have the opportunity. Any initial thoughts as you're finally on this end, hearing about Kevin's accomplishments?
Oh, well, I expect nothing less. Kevin was the first kid ever, only kid ever, that when we went on the Christmas tournament, because, I used to always try to get our kids away. Our school is right there on the line of South Baltimore and Northern Anne Arundel County. So actually part of South Baltimore, that Brooklyn Park area, Pumphrey area, they have a Baltimore City. It's a Baltimore address for Kevin. So I try to get our kids out of the area. And Kevin was the only one who took his books with us on our Christmas tournaments and did his work while we were on Christmas break. Only player ever.
I had to go back home and see my mom, Coach, so you know what that was.
Yes, Kevin,
yes.
I actually want to ask you. You have two postgraduate degrees. One is a master's of teaching, and the other one's educational leadership. Tell me a little bit about how your athletic preparation assisted you in getting both of those degrees, because I also have a master's in the art of teaching, and I'm also educational leadership certified, admin 1 and 2. And I know on my end, I use a little more athletic stuff than academic stuff in terms of going through those processes. Can you tell me a little bit about that on your end?
Definitely. I mean, first thing, coming to basketball, you have those tough games, tough situations. You got to find a way to grind it through. Especially at the master's level, I'm working a full-time job as well as, going to school. I've got to be able to have time management, and there's going to be times when I'm tired. I've got to find a way to, get through the books and study what I need to study. So also the teamwork aspect of it, I worked a lot of group projects and things like that with my classmates. So being able to, either take a lead or step back, depending on the situation, that was huge for me.
All right. Well, fans, we are going to take a brief break. And when we get back on the other side of this Find the Balance Friday episode, we're going to find out what's going on with Kevin today. And in segment 3, we get to poke some good-natured jabs at Coach Franchise. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Projects book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success, is now available for purchase. The book serves as both a memoir of Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student-athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes numerous personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues, including former George Mason standout Follering Campbell. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And with us today, very special guest, Kevin Hammock. And Kevin, can you tell our fans a little bit about what you're doing now? What's your current career pathway?
Currently, I'm a physical education teacher at the inner city school here in Charleston, South Carolina. I am the assistant basketball coach with the girls program now. I've got a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old here, young ladies who want to be able to get them interested in the game. So I switched from the boys, which I've done, the last 12 years or something like that. Switched to the young ladies this year. So I'm looking to make a move to go become a head ladies coach next year, as well as looking to become an athletic director again. For the last 3 years at my last school, I was the athletic director. So I really enjoyed that. Feel like you can touch more programs than just your own program. Help guide them. So that's kind of where I am right now. I have aspirations in the next couple of years to move into administration, become assistant principal. Here, they're starting to move to where the athletic director is in the admin position. So that would be the ideal situation right there.
Definitely.
Love it. Love it. Coach, any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, it's great to see. Kevin was always a leader. Kevin was, that one who guided us his senior year. We really had him and one other basketball player, and we had 2 lacrosse players and 3 football players, and somehow we still won 16, 17 games. I don't know how we did it, but he's always been a leader. Kevin's that kid that, we opened up the season. I'll never forget our first game his senior year. We're playing against Paul VI. Now, we're a public school in Anne Arundel County. We should not be beating a WCAC school. Somehow I let Mike Daniels and the Carmelo Anthony team convince me to plan Paul VI Friday night at 6, and then we turned around and played Gonzaga the next morning at 11. Now, the Paul VI game went to overtime, so you can tell we had no legs. It's the first game. Corey got hurt, if you remember, Kevin.
I remember.
We had guys who couldn't play. But we go into overtime, and Kevin comes to the sideline and just yells at the team. He's like, the first team to score wins overtime 76% of the time. I don't hear nothing else. And pretty much the guys looked at him, and it was it. I was like, all right, we got to win the tap. We got to win the tap. Come off the screen and roll. He scored, and we end up winning the game. Probably, I think, as the young program, because that was only 4 or 5 years in, as a young program, that was definitely a signature win for us to beat a WCAC school as we did. And again, we owe it all to Kevin's leadership and his ability to play on both sides of the floor. I was looking at a couple articles from in preparation for this, looking at a couple articles. I Googled them to see, and I went back to the Washington Post. I had an article like Kevin could score, but he also defended. And very rare in high school do you see the best scorer and the best offensive threat also guarding the best offensive threat on the other team. And that's something Kevin took to pride. And I'll let him share the Thomas Johnson moment with Coach Dickman.
Don't even want to talk about that. Don't even want to talk about that.
All right.
Well, Kevin, so you'll know, and probably why Coach Francis brought that up, I worked with Coach Dickman for 8 years at Hood College in Frederick, Maryland, and no finer gentleman, but I also used to coach at Pay Branch. In the year after I left, after we won the state championship in 2000, Coach Dickman beat them in the regional finals. So we all got some TD beat us stories. But I do want to ask something about something you said. We're living in a very challenging time in terms of COVID. And you're also working with female student athletes, and a lot of my research showed the growth of women's athletics and in terms of participation and getting more and more girls participating. How have you navigated COVID in terms of these times, not only just coaching, but just having them still be around sports? Can you speak to that?
It's been actually pretty difficult, convincing parents that, we're taking the best protocols, taking the best actions to make sure that their daughters are staying safe, making sure that we are keeping the hand sanitizer, keeping the mask around, even, being down here in the South where COVID doesn't exist, But no, honestly, and where I am now is a really, really good culture. It's got a rich basketball history. In our program right now, we have 14 eighth graders. 11 of those on JV, 3 of them on varsity. So just trying to get them out. COVID hasn't stopped us too much. Again, being down here, but.
Well, to keep everybody's jobs, we're going to slide out of this segment. And we'll be right back to the other side. And I can't wait because it's going to be my favorite segment as we share some stories about the odd coaches. And this time, Coach Francis and not Dr. Adams. And we'll be right back after this brief break.
The vision of the CKA SAVE project is to use the combination of academics and athletics as a catalyst to lifelong success. Thus, the CKA SAVE project works to improve student-athlete academic and athletic performance by assisting student-athletes with transitional and transferable skills such as time management and organizational skills, along with the ability to self-advocate to help improve performance. However, we cannot do our work without the help of supporters like you. Consider donating to the CKA Save Project. We accept tax-deductible contributions in a number of ways, including Venmo and Cash App at CKA Save Project, or directly at the main page of our website, www.ckasaveproject.org. Simply click the donate button. We thank you in advance for your continued support.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast, and in my favorite segment, we get to hear Kevin tell his best coach franchise story. So, Kevin, I'm going to tag to you in this 6-man trios match, and tell us a little bit about your favorite coach franchise story.
Keep it clean.
Coach, I ain't gonna go too much detail. I'm gonna keep it simple.
Okay.
Honestly, coach is probably the coach who motivated me the most at any level. So just when you sent me this question, I started thinking about it. What can I share with Coach Francis? And I go back to my freshman year. All right, Coach, I know you probably remember this story. When I was on JV basketball, you pulled me up to play with the varsity. All right. And, I call spade a spade. I came up and played like a punk. Right. So we get to practice the very next day. And Coach has a few choice words for me. And sends me back down to the JV and told me, you ain't coming back to varsity till you can play. Till you can come out there and be aggressive and be a man on this floor. And then I went back and had a triple-double on JV. And then he brought me back up the very next game. I can tell you many stories about him motivating me. Our road trips up to Philly, up to PA for Eastern Invitational.
Eastern Invitational.
The conversations we had in there. There's a lot. The mindset that this man helped instill in me going forward from there. I can't thank him enough.
Kevin, I gotta ask, what year did you graduate?
From the North County?
From North County.
02.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes, indeed. You said Eastern Invitational. And yes, indeed. I was probably in those summer camps in the hot gyms and the hot dorms, too.
Oh, my God. I tell you, the thing about it for Kev, one story I'd like to share, that last week, July 28th through the 1st, 31st or the 1st of August, that last week, Kevin didn't want to go back. I'll never forget that. We had been up there already, 2 weeks?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you ready to come home because, there was a time, how we would go and just stay. I would come home, I split the kids up. I'd take 2 or 3, come home, drop them off, pick up 2 or 3 others, come home, drop them off. So I stayed gone the whole month of July. Trying to make sure our kids got looks and played in front of the college coaches. And Kevin had finished the 1 week. And I was like, look, Kev, you're going to go. You got another week. It's the last week. He's like, nah, I don't think I want to go. And first it wasn't a question of finances. Like I told him, I said, look, I'll work exchange. You don't have to worry about paying anything. Don't worry about paying
work
for
exchange.
It. I'll work exchange. You just need to be here and make sure you remember the old work exchange. Rob Kennedy.
I'm going to leave that alone because I'd like to get him on the show one day.
Yes, sir. So Kevin goes up that last week, plays exceptionally well, even though he didn't want to be there. Schools followed us home. And I'm not playing. Citadel followed us home. Now, they couldn't talk to him until August 1st. So they really came back. They drove back down, went in a hotel, waited. And then the next day they was knocking on his door. And from there we had Loyola was in the gym. Towson was in the gym. Kevin, if I recall, East Carolina, Georgia. Now, the one story I'm going to tell, Kevin, I don't know if you want to hear the Stanford story. I don't know if you remember the Stanford story, Kevin?
I do.
Okay. At the time, I don't know if you recall, Mike
Montgomery
was the head coach at Stanford, right?
Yes, he was.
I get a call. At the time I'm doing in-school suspension. So I get a call. They say, Coach Francis, you got a very important phone call. I pick it up. Yeah. This is Mike Montgomery at Stanford. I hung up the phone, right? And I'm saying, now, somebody playing a joke on me. You know what I mean? I'm thinking somebody. So then he calls back, no, this is Mike. He said, this is Mike Montgomery, and God rest his soul. He said, I just read Tom Kachowski's report. He said, Kevin Hammock is the best point guard that no one knows about. Now, if you know Tom Kachowski, you remember Tom Kachowski is the one who brought Michael Jordan to the camp when somebody didn't show up to the Carolina camp. That's how they found out about Michael Jordan. He was one of the best, if not the best.
The best.
So when Kevin hit that magazine, he called, he's like, but coach, he's like, they say he's like this kid we got out in our conference from Utah, Andre Miller. Remember? He was in their conference. He said, they said he's like that. Do you think he'd be willing to go to prep school for a year? And then we want to bring him on. Then our point guard, our backup will be a senior. He can learn under him, and he'll still play at Stanford. I called Miss Hammock and Mr. Hammock, and they weren't going for it.
Prep school, man.
No, Miss Hammock. Miss Hammock was not going. She said, he done worked this hard, got his grades together. We ain't sending no prep school. He going to college. I say, okay, whatever you say. Yeah, they really, Stanford, Kevin, had the opportunity to go to prep school and then on to Stanford.
And speaking of, college, I know Coach Francis, you wanted to make sure Kevin brought up some things. I'm going to tag that to you and kind of guide us in terms of things you'd like some Kevin to expand upon.
I would like Kevin to expand upon the, we talk about the book, Finding the Balance. And
shameless plug here, folks.
Find the book. Yeah, I'm even in there. Thank God.
Yes, indeed.
My name's in writing, and it's. But Kevin was great at finding the balance, but he had great parents who made sure he found the balance. I always used to say, if Miss Hammock was the mother of my team and my kids, we'd have been able to run flex, and we'd have been able to run Princeton offense and everything, because she made sure. But Kevin, can you share with us, when you hear the words finding the balance and you think about that as far as academics and you playing at the Citadel and being a fellowship of Christian athletes, all the things that you brought into you were very multifaceted. So how did you find the balance?
Sacrifice. I think that's the biggest word that I can use, is sacrifice. Not being at the parties, getting up early in the morning with the 8:00 practice on Saturday, just having sacrifice. We practiced at 7 o'clock, didn't finish till 9-ish.
Yeah. When they
9-ish. And it was still time to go home and get homework done. So I sacrificed some sleep there. I think that the biggest thing is sacrifice and being able to prioritize. If you can prioritize and know the things that are important, you can do both. You can do both.
Love it.
Coach, you remember my freshman year when I slipped up and got that C in geometry?
Oh, yeah, and they took you off the team.
Took me off the basketball team.
Yeah, Kevin's parents took him. He got a C in geometry, and his father came in and said, he done. I said, what? He done. He got a C. I said, oh, my God. I had to make some phone calls and go some roundabout ways. And somebody got to Kevin's grandmother, and grandma had to step in and say, let that boy play. But we was close. Woof. It was rough.
In that moment there, I realized that, I had to make sure I took care of those academics at all times.
And we played for county championship that year, didn't we? Or was your sophomore year?
I think it was the next year. Sophomore year.
Wonderful, man. Wonderful. So, Kevin, can you tell the people a little bit about your current projects and how they can follow you on social media if you're on there?
I have Instagram. It's just KevHam22. My Facebook is just Kevin Hammock. My email is Kevin_Hammock at charleston.k12.sc.us. But along with working with the young ladies at the high school down here, I'm also working out on Kiawah Island doing some private individual skill camps out there. So currently,
nice. And how did the Citadel set you up? Talk about going to a service academy. You need structure for that. You need to make sure.
Again, I think when we talk about that prioritizing and having discipline, I think my wife now currently gets mad at me because I pack my schedule, but that's the only way I know. I got to keep myself busy.
Right.
So just making sure that I keep a busy schedule, keeping it prioritized, and making sure that I'm, checking off all my boxes. The Citadel really helped me prepare for that. Having to, get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'd be on the West Coast on Monday, then back, down to Florida on, Friday, but still having to make sure that Spanish work was done. So again, prioritizing and sacrificing the two main things.
Love it.
Good,
Love it.
good. I got
Coach,
one more story about
go right
Kevin.
ahead. I was going to tag to you.
I got one more. Okay. Like I say, as much it was, you understand, 4 or 5 years in. My first year, Kevin wasn't there. The second year I came, he was there. And we learned about, when they made him get off the team and all that. I learned a lot dealing with Mr. and Miss Hammock, and it set me up great. And I used to always think, with watching Kevin, and as long as if my son could be half as good as he was off the floor as he was on, fellowship with Christian athletes and all that. Kevin was one of those kids you want your kid to be like. So it was very helpful. Now, I remember going into his senior year, though, when his mom called. You remember she called me? She called me and said, Coach, I need to talk to you. And I'm thinking, oh, he done got in trouble again. But no. So Kevin was an all-league wide receiver going into his senior year. And he didn't play basketball his senior year. Football, concentrating on basketball. Of course, I caught the flack for all that. Oh, my God, you won't believe how much I caught for all that. But she said to me, she said, Coach, Kevin thinks you hate him. And I said, what? Miss Hammock, like he's my favorite player. She's like, no. She said, but he says you act like his father. And sometimes you talk to him like his father does. And she said, I want you to know I need you to keep doing that. Yeah, he needs that. I'm happy with that. That helps him. And I know you got his best interest. Because if you were talking to him like his dad, I know it's going to be successful. So that was definitely at first I was scared to death, but definitely it was a compliment. And it also let me know that the effect that we were having as a staff, myself and Jay and all of us, the whole staff, how we had that effect we were having on our student athletes. So again, many things I learned from the Hammock family and from Little Hammock too. So on the other end.
That's a whole other segment there.
Yes.
But being on the other side of it now, I can see it completely different now. You know what I mean? Like I know, I understand, you hear every coach say, well, if I stop talking to you, that's when you need to worry. But you hear every coach say that. You hear every coach say that. Now being on the other side of it, I completely understand what it is to put your time and your effort and really want to coach a kid up completely. And I appreciate you for all that, Coach.
Oh man, you
made never thank you enough.
You made it easy. And you made it easy for your
some
teammates.
Days. Most days. Most days.
You did. It was definitely more. It was 99%. So I can't never complain about it. We very fortunate. Won a lot of games together. Did some things for the school. Still on the record for most wins in the season over your career, over your 4 years as well. And you were the first part of that first team that went to the county championship in North County, and you guys we went to a regional, and it was good. And I was very lucky to have you in the program, and you set a bar. I don't even think you realize how much those other guys looked up to you. That's one thing about, some kids that they never get to realize their impact. But Tavon and Tion and all those guys from the neighborhood, they all looked up to you. And so many guys come into the program from the neighborhood wanting to be just like you. And, they may not have told you, but they definitely told me. So they looked up to you. For many years, I had kids coming in talking about how they used to come and watch you play. So you did a lot for our program, more than you honestly know.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. So to wrap this up again, Kevin, thank you so much for giving us time. And on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches Podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.